nobody appears to really have the upper hand in this quarterback battle, or at least that's what's been said to all of us publicly. Because we're going to go through some quotes right now, but I'm going to summarize basically the message from Syracuse coaches and Syracuse players. Steve Angeli, he's got a lot of experience. He played a little bit at Notre Dame, which helps him. But hey, Rickie Collins, he is really talented coming over from LSU. The messaging from top to bottom has been very consistent with Syracuse football. It's almost like Fran Brown, the head coach, has everyone talking from a script. Let's get into some of the quotes from Fran Brown himself. Quote, one is super talented as an arm thrower. He's referring to Rickie Collins. The other one is a natural quarterback leader, referring to Steve Angeli, and it just depends on what our team needs. And to paraphrase further of what Fran Brown has been saying, a decision will be made in a couple of weeks and heavy emphasis on 2 Syracuse football scrimmages. And Fran Brown also talked about how he's going to see what his players do and what his players say. Who are they gravitating towards more as a leader, but also the fact that who do they think is honestly better? And that probably goes hand in hand, right? You're going to probably gravitate more towards someone you think is better, but who knows? But it sounds like Fran Brown is not only going to accept feedback from coaches and I guess his own eyeballs, but also from the players as well, whether it's implicit or explicit. Jeff Nixon, what he has said about the QB battle, the offensive coordinator, quote, Steve Angeli has a little bit more of a veteran presence because he's played a little bit more at Notre Dame. That is true. But Rickie Collins is really talented, end quote. And to paraphrase further of what he said, there's still time to make a decision. And he also emphasized the 2 Syracuse scrimmages. Elijah Robinson, the defensive coordinator of Syracuse football, quote, I think both of those guys are extremely talented. And he actually later on went on to say that both are great leaders as well. You can also go to Dennis Jacques, a Syracuse defensive lineman. Quote, both those guys are elite. It's really like a 1-2 punch. I don't know how Coach Fran is going to pick. So messaging from top to bottom, from the head coach to the coordinators to one of the player examples, they all seem to be saying the same thing. And they are not tipping their hand with this quarterback battle. So I can't sit here and tell you all right now, I know who Syracuse's quarterback is going to be week 1 against Tennessee. But the synergy is a really good thing. Now, if you are someone who has been following along Locked On Syracuse since February of 2024, when I first took this job, shout out to all those who've been there since day 1 here on this channel, you know that I'm not necessarily afraid to criticize players or coaches when I feel it's warranted. I don't want to ever be unfair to players and coaches, but I will criticize them when I feel it's warranted, just like how some of you might criticize me and my podcasting skills. It's fair. It's warranted. It's all good and fun, right? That being said, I'm going to compliment Fran Brown now, but just also acknowledge that at the end of the day, how much does this compliment really mean? I think it's a sign of a good culture when you have consistent messaging, when everyone in the building appears to be on the same page and portrays that to the public. There's no mixed messaging here. You didn't see one of those players like a Jonte Cook or a Yassine Willis, who also gave quotes, say, hey, I know who's better. You didn't see one of the defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator say, hey, I think this guy is clearly better. And Fran Brown didn't say who's better or who's not. It is consistent messaging from top to bottom, which is a sign of a good culture and a sign of a good program in general when everyone is on the same page. But at the end of the day, as great as that is, Syracuse has to get the quarterback battle right. At the end of the day, it's a results business. So we can sit here and talk about what a great culture Fran Brown is building. And don't get me wrong, he is building a great culture. But you got to get this quarterback right, and you have to win games.